Now at 9, how some people in the area are recognizing the Day of the Dead. Plus, the Joplin Public Library partners with the Quapaw Nation to honor Native American Heritage Month. And how high school students in Uniontown, Kansas brought back their school newspaper after more than a decade out of print.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. First responders rush a man to the hospital after a shooting in Joplin. It happened on the 1800 block of South Main. Police were called to investigate a report of a shooting with at least one victim. Police believe the injuries are not life-threatening. Our reporter Shannon Becker tells us multiple police cars and EMS were at the scene that starts in the area of Fred and Red's down to the corner of 18th and Main. He also says a window appears to be shot out at the Visiting Angels office. Check out KOAM News app for further details as they develop. A crash in Barton County, Missouri this morning claimed the life of a Nevada woman. Authorities say 67-year-old Diana Shopper was traveling east on Northwest 40th Road when she ran a stop sign and hit a pickup traveling down Highway 43. Shopper was killed at the scene. The driver of the pickup was not injured. Well, Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joining us now with a first look at weather.
Well, Lisa, it was warmer for us today, a lot warmer than what we have seen over the past couple days, or actually about 5 days. 64, normal high 64, so we got back to where we should be for this time of the year. Cold start, right around 37 during the morning hours. But if we look outside now, looks pretty good. It's 49 Joplin. I don't know where the Terra Cam went, but Pittsburgh looks pretty good, sitting at 49 degrees. 48 Carthage, 46 in Anderson, 49 in Oswego. We have Fort Scott sitting at 50. It's been windy. We still have these southerly winds kicking in, still at about 5 to 15. It's going to stay breezy tonight, and then again as we go into the daytime hours for us tomorrow. Clear skies, not much going on. Overnight planner 48 by 11, 44 by 7, overnight low of 41, so not as cold tonight. Back to 51 by 10 a.m., plenty of sunshine. Of course, we're going to look into the weekend, all coming up here in a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. Today is the celebration of the Day of the Dead. Locally, Hispanics and Latinos found ways to celebrate their heritage, even being far from their home country. KOAM's Fernanda Silva spoke to them and shows us some of their traditions.
I was married for 18 years. One thing that my husband loved, he loved his bananas and beans. So I have the big traditional bananas. And because of our marriage, I have the Catrina and the Catrina. The coco guitar is there as well because he loved his music.
Carted resident Maria Sanchez put up an altar in her living room to celebrate the life of her husband, Carlos Sanchez, and her dad, Jose Apala. Her goal is to keep their memory alive.
I want my children and grandkids to, come and see the altar and all the things that decorate us. And, it's very important to teach our second and third generation to love our ancestors.
In a lot of Hispanic and Latino cultures, people go to cemeteries in the Day of the Dead. They clean the graves and bring drinks and food, including pan de muerto, or bread of the dead.
The round orange-based bread is said to bring back sweet memories of loved ones. Every year, El Palomito, a local bakery in Carthage, sells this special item. What makes the bread special in itself, it's all the tradition, all the celebration. It is part of the celebration of the Day of the Dead in Mexico.
My husband loved that sweet bread and the candy. That was his thing, so here we are. I made sure he had some sweet bread as well.
In Pittsburgh, Frida Herrera also made an altar dedicated to her and her husband's grandparents. She had the help of family members who were visiting from Mexico to put it up.
It was really nice to remember those days in Mexico when I was a child, to do it the oral ofrenda with my mom and my family there, so now I can do it with my son, to keep alive this tradition and keep alive our family.
While feeling connected with their ancestors, Frida, Maria, and Giovan also celebrate their home's culture in their new country. Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
PSU's Student Association Hispanic of today also held their own ofrenda on campus. Well, Pitt State also today celebrated the Day of the Dead with a showing of the Disney movie Coco. It was hosted by the student organization PSU Hispanics of Today. The showing was open to students as well as the entire community. The Joplin Public Library partnered with the Quapaw Nation to honor Native American Heritage Month. The post-art section of the library now features an exhibit with Native art and cultural items from regional artists and collections.
I'm blessed to be able to put my pottery on display, and hopefully people are going to come in and say, wow, Quapaws, where did they come from? Who are they about? So it's just a way to tell our story.
Suggested doing it this month for Native American Heritage. That way we can just make people aware of the deep-rooted heritage that Native Americans have in the area.
The exhibit will be open through November. The library was also the site of the launch of the Ogopaw Coffee's winter seasonal blend, Beaver Springs. Well, a Joplin organization is making sure babies in the NICU do not miss out on the value of stories. Soroptimist International of Joplin donated $500 worth of books to the Ronald McDonald House. Those books will then go to the NICU at Freeman Hospital. Parents and volunteers will be able to read to the babies there, which experts say can help build language skills. Well, Uniontown High School's newspaper returns after a 10-plus year hiatus. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke to the young journalist about getting the news hot off the press.
My previous industry experience was in the printing industry, and I feel like it's a skill that everyone can apply to other areas. Like every company in the world needs somebody that can create some photos and social media posts for them. So I feel like they're learning things that they can apply to absolutely any business they go into.
After 14 years, Uniontown High School now has a student-run newspaper, teaching them the foundations of journalism.
We brainstorm the ideas and then we go out and email the teachers and people to interview and get the information from them to then put them into our own articles. It is not the easiest, but it's honestly not the hardest. All I really do is go out, interview people, and then afterwards I help with the class and their work.
The original newspaper died out in 2008 due to lack of interest from students. Now, that's not the case.
They definitely could have brought it back before now, but it's cool to be a part of something that's coming back.
The newest issue of the Talon released right before Halloween. Students say they took inspiration from the old issues and realized newspapers are like time capsules.
Well, it was kind of cool when I brought it back to my house. My uncle was there and he was in the newspaper back when they were doing it, so he was like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
From here, I graduated from here. I was on the yearbook staff here and at Pitt State.
Reporting in Uniontown, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
The next issue of the Talon is set to release before Christmas break. Well, coming up, a shortage of RSV treatments.
A recently approved medication is supposed to protect infants from RSV, but demand is outpacing supply. I'm Alicia Acuna in Denver. I'll have that story coming up.
A lack of confidence in vaccines and health misinformation continue to grow following the pandemic, and that's according to a new survey of more than 1,500 adults in October from the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania. It found Americans are less likely to consider it safe to get the measles, mumps and rubella, pneumonia, and COVID vaccines than they were 2.5 years ago. A shortage of RSV medications and vaccines is sparking fears there could be a big spike in virus cases in the coming months. Doctors say there is an alternative that could help protect infants. Fox News senior correspondent Alicia Acuna has more.
As we head into the holiday season, hospitals are bracing for a surge of RSV cases among babies and young children.
We are seeing viruses in a way that we haven't before.
While there's no RSV vaccine for infants, the FDA approved a medication in July that provides short-term protection. The antibody must be given during RSV season for best results, but now demand is outpacing supply. The CDC urges doctors to reserve available doses for infants with a higher risk of complications, including those with heart and lung conditions.
For example, less than 6 months of age, calling around to see if they can locate it might be a great idea.
Healthcare providers are also making a push for pregnant mothers to get a recently approved RSV vaccine. When given during weeks 32 through 36 of pregnancy, the Pfizer shot reduces the risk of hospitalization for babies by more than 50% in the first 6 months after birth.
We are ramping up to start to administer the RSV vaccine to our pregnant patients.
And there's an urgent need to do so. CDC data shows as many as 80,000 children under 5 are hospitalized with the virus each year. Doctors urge parents waiting for medication to prioritize washing hands and making sure their children are up to date on other shots. In Denver, Alicia Acuna, Fox News.
Well, Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, Pitt State looks to stay undefeated this weekend, taking on Missouri Western. We'll hear from the Gorillas in sports.
Well, it turned out to be better for us today, which is nice. Temperatures warmed up a little bit more than what we have seen over the past couple days. We've had clear skies, but windy as well. We're looking at downtown Joplin from the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex building. This is one of our newer tower cams, but you can see on one of the buildings in downtown, you got the winds. So the flag's still blowing. It's going to stay breezy as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight, and then breezy again as we go through the next few days. All right, it's Thursday. New drought tracker always comes out on Thursday. Big time improvements. No drought at all south of I-44. It's a little dry all the way up to Chanute. The only areas that we are really dealing with drought now, western and far northern counties. Everybody else is looking much better, and this is mainly after the rain that we had late last week and into the weekend. We're drying out a little bit, so we need to get some rain, especially by next week. All right, temperatures upper 40s to near 50 degrees. We're not going to be near as cold tonight as what we have seen over the past several nights. And even right now, we're about 5 to 10 to 12 degrees warmer this time at night compared to 24 hours ago. Southerly winds still kicking in. These are going to be at about 5 to 10 as we go through the overnight hours tonight, but they'll increase a bit as we get into tomorrow. But still, well, through the evening, we've had gusts at times 15, upwards of 20 miles per hour. So let's go through the future. Breezy winds increasing tomorrow morning. We'll have winds gusting 30 to 35 at times. We're going to have clear skies. We drop back to 41, 51 by 10 a.m. We still have clear skies out there for us right now. Not a whole bunch going on across Central Plains. Here's our next little wave that will somewhat affect us as we head into the weekend. It's not going to do a lot for us, but let's go ahead and walk you through the next 48 hours. All right, low to mid 40s by morning, sunshine, windy, upper 50s by noon. Once we get into the afternoon, most of us 68, 67 degrees, pretty good Friday. Tomorrow evening, we'll see a few clouds increasing, and then on Saturday, a lot more clouds throughout the day, partly to mostly cloudy skies, but it's going to be a fantastic day. High temps right around 70. As we get into Saturday evening and Saturday night, there could be a couple spotty showers out by Sunday morning, and then Sunday is shaping up to be a pretty good day as well. Day planner for you tomorrow, 43 to start, 60 by noon, 67 by 4. High temp right around 68 degrees. High school football tomorrow night. Temperatures, they're not going to be bad. It's going to be a little chilly with the winds. We'll drop back through the 50s, but overall looking pretty good for high school football weather as we go into the weekend. All right, 68 for us tomorrow, 70 by the time we head into Saturday. Of course, we drop back 1 hour Saturday night. 74 on Sunday, 77 on Monday. So we really warm up after a 5-day stretch of highs in the 40s.
Yeah. Wow. Back in the 70s. You can't complain about that, you know?
Yeah,
you don't need the AC. You don't need the heater. It's perfect.
It is.
Back to fall.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Well, JROTC students in Neosho got their skate on this evening. According to Chief Jeremiah Brewer, the students were able to come together and blow off steam, as well as build relationships with each other. While there are currently 4 seniors planning to join the military after high school, Brewer says it's less about recruitment and more about teaching them how to be good people and citizens.
So this is not a military class, but it has military influences. The Air Force funds it, but it just gives us a great opportunity to show them what the military is about, and we use those military influences as a way for discipline and just attention to detail and those kind of things.
They look like they like to have fun. Chief Brewer says there are currently 150 students involved in the junior ROTC program. Coming up, a Missouri case challenging the way real estate commissions are paid.
A federal ruling in the real estate market could be a game changer in how people buy and sell homes. And it's all about the commission. I'm Jerry Willis with Fox Business. Details ahead.
The CEO of the National Association of Realtors is stepping down. This after a federal jury ruled some real estate agents and brokers in Missouri conspired to artificially boost commissions. Fox Business correspondent Jerry Willis explains what the agents did to inflate commissions.
In a case that could change the way Americans buy and sell their homes, a federal jury in Kansas City, Missouri, found that the National Association of Realtors and two large residential real estate companies engaged in a conspiracy to inflate commissions, awarding $1.8 billion in damages.
This is a day of accountability, and this money is going to be returned to the homeowners. And it's just it's a straightforward refund case. Every homeowner that overpaid for buyer's commission, they get their money back. And our hope is that the National Association of Realtors will quit engaging in this illegal behavior.
The lawsuit challenged the way commissions are paid. That's the 5 to 6% of the purchase price paid by the seller to their agent, who in turn shares a portion of it with the buyer's agent. Critics say it makes negotiation of the sales charge almost impossible. All of this coming at a time that new technology is making it easier for buyers to find homes without an agent. But some real estate pros say the alternative to commission sales agents would be bad for consumers. We reached out to the National Association of Realtors, and they say the issue is not close to being final, and they will appeal the verdict.
About 90%, I would say, of those for sale by owners end up with an agent because they realize that it really is a full-time job, and you need to seek a professional. It's like going to court and not having an attorney, right? You want a professional to represent you, and it's the biggest investment, the biggest asset that many people have in their lifetime.
The commission has come under scrutiny as housing prices have risen. A 5% commission on a median-priced home today is $21,550, nearly double the levels of a decade ago. Advocates of dismantling the current commission structure say it will lower housing prices, but forcing buyers to pay sales commissions could do just the opposite. In New York, Jerry Willis, Fox Business.
Americans can start putting more money in their 401ks next year. The Internal Revenue Service says new inflation-adjusted limits for retirement plans will allow Americans to put up to $23,000 into their 401ks next year. That's up $500 from last year. Individual retirement accounts will also increase by $500 to $7,000. Well, Pitt State students give people with disabilities a chance to develop skills through a day of play. That's up next. Students at Pitt State today hosted a terrific day of play. It was hosted by the university's therapeutic recreation program. The goal of the event is to provide a chance for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to try out different activities with recreational equipment. Now, some of that equipment includes hula hoops, parachutes, and kickball.
Hands-on experience is extremely important for all of our students, whether they're in our major or not. Just having those opportunities to work with people that they may not see on a regular basis helps them to open their eyes to other opportunities that they may do once they graduate from Pittsburgh State.
The day of play was held at PSU's Plaster Center. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. The House passes a bill to provide aid to Israel, but will it pass the Senate? Plus, what a new poll shows about support for independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The House Republicans on Capitol Hill vote on standalone aid package for Israel. But the bill goes against White House wishes to bundle billions in aid with money for Ukraine. And now top Senate Democrats say the bill will be dead on arrival when it gets to the upper chamber. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor has the story.
The Senate will not take up the House's GOP's deeply flawed proposal.
Senate Democrats and House Republicans clash over military aid for Israel. Despite heavy opposition from Democrats, the House pushed ahead, passing its $14.5 billion Israeli aid package.
The bill is passed.
President Biden has already said he would veto the bill, which does not include aid to Ukraine and would cut into IRS funding set aside in the Inflation Reduction Act.
We proudly stand with Israel instead of Joe Biden's army of IRS agents, and shame on Joe Biden for threatening to veto this critical Israel aid package.
But Democrats say cutting into the IRS will increase America's budget deficit by cutting back on tax collection. They also accuse new House Speaker Mike Johnson of politicizing the issue, an accusation Johnson firmly denies.
We're trying to get back to the principle of fiscal responsibility here. And that was the easiest and largest pile of money that's sitting there for us to be able to pay for this immediate obligation.
The House bill also falls short of President Biden's request for nearly $106 billion to not only back Israel and Ukraine, but also fund U.S. efforts to counter China, address border security, and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
I am glad that the president issued a veto threat over this stunningly unserious proposal. Unserious at a time of crisis like this?
Senate leadership says it's already working on its own bipartisan bill to counter the House proposal. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
President Biden hosts the president of the Dominican Republic at the White House. The president met with President Luis Abinader for their first bilateral meeting in the Oval Office today. The two leaders agreed the partnership between their nations is better than ever and shared priorities, including deepening economic ties, advancing democratic principles, and addressing the security situation in Haiti. Quinnipiac poll shows surging support for independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a potential game changer in an election where a substantial number of voters say they are less than thrilled with the idea of a rematch of President Biden and Donald Trump. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., perhaps best known for his famous name, shirtless push-ups, and stance against vaccine mandates.
What I call turnkey totalitarianism
is moving from the fringes to the forefront of the presidential race.
This country is ready for a history-making change.
He might be right. A new Quinnipiac poll shows Joe Biden and Donald Trump remain in a virtual tie. But when you add in Kennedy as an independent candidate, he siphons off a surprising 22% of the vote, sliding President Biden to 39% and Trump to 36%. Good news for Biden, who probably needs it, since he's facing criticism and a challenger from his own party, with Congressman Dean Phillips jumping into the race.
President Biden, a man I respect, and I'm sure most of you do too, is perhaps the only Democrat who could lose to Donald Trump. In fact, he's likely to.
And there could be more candidates waiting in the wings from the No Labels group.
If our two major parties are unable or unwilling to offer Americans a compelling and unifying presidential candidate, we'll be here to do it.
That Quinnipiac poll also shows that Kennedy is winning the youth vote, with 38% of 18 to 34-year-olds supporting him, compared to 32% for Biden and 27% for Trump. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
A little bit later, what new research shows about just how much that Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost you this year.
Well, it's turned out to be a nice Thursday evening. Of course, temperatures warmer than what we've seen over the past couple days, but it's still chilly outside and it's windy, making it feel a little bit colder than it actually is. Check out our tower cam on top of the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. Nice shot of Joplin downtown. So this is from 7th Street looking off toward the north into the east. Clear skies. Looks pretty good for us tonight. Temps right now, we're sitting upper 40, so a big improvement compared to the past several nights. Of course, just yesterday morning, we set a record low. It's 49 in Stockton, Grand Lake 49, 50 in Pittsburgh, Chanute is sitting at 52. Let's go outside. 7th and Rangeline sitting at 49. Southerly winds still at 11, so that makes it feel a little bit colder than what it actually is. Southerly winds are going to continue. Now, on the other hand, what these winds do is help us warm up back into the really nice fall-like temperatures as we head into the weekend. South winds tonight, 5 to 15, but increase as we go through the daytime hours tomorrow. There's southerly winds at about 15 to 25 with gusts at times 30 to about 35. So it's going to be breezy on Friday. Clear skies, not much going on here. Not much going on across Central Plains. We do have our next weak wave, northern parts of the Rockies. Most of this is going to stay across the northern plains, but it will give us at least some slight chances for a few showers as we get into the weekend. All right, let's go through next 48 hours. We'll bottom out lower 40s tonight. We'll start with clear skies, southerly winds, upper 50s by noon. Once we get into the afternoon, we'll stop at 4:30. 68 in Chanute, 68 in Welch, Carthage 68, 66 in Cassville. We get some clouds in here tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. A lot more clouds on Saturday. Saturday is going to be mostly cloudy. We are going to get some sun, but it's going to be a great day. We start near 50 once we get into Saturday afternoon. High temps right around 70, which is pretty good. Then Saturday night, we may get a few random little showers that try to push through the region. Not a big deal. Very light and very scattered in nature. Day planner on your Friday, 43 to start, 60 by noon, 67 by 4. Sunshine, high temp 68, so a little warmer than what we did see today. And then back to 70 by Saturday, 74 on Sunday again, maybe a random shower Sunday night. But we do get better chances for rain as we move into next week. Here's our weak little wave Saturday. Sunday looks pretty good. Monday, also looking pretty good, but we continue with these weak little waves that kind of stream on by. So at least we have some rain chances as we get into next week, but we don't have any big storm systems heading in our direction. 68 tomorrow, 70 on Saturday, 74 on Sunday. 77s Monday and Tuesday, a few showers on Tuesday. And then again next Thursday. We do cool down a little bit late next week, but we have a nice stretch of really nice fall weather heading toward us over the next 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to complain about temperatures in the 70s.
Nope, me neither.
And don't forget those clocks.
Well, yeah, but everybody's got cell phones now. It automatically does it.
Except not the one that's like next to your bed, that alarm clock that's just sitting there. Because
you
you'll wake
actually
up and you
use
look at
those.
it.
Okay.
Well, it's not my alarm clock, but I look at it first.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Doug. Oklahoma's governor announces a plan to allow sports betting in his state. Governor Kevin Stitt says the plan allowed today would allow Oklahomans to place in-person bets at gaming sites operated by federally recognized tribes, protecting tribal investments in brick-and-mortar facilities. The plan would also allow Oklahomans to place bets on their mobile devices on a sportsbook license by the state. Those bets would be taxed at a 20% rate. But pursuant to updated tribal gaming compacts, retail wagering can be conducted by federally recognized tribes, taxed at a 15%. Those bets would only be accepted in person. Well, Governor Stitt says, quote, "I promised Oklahomans if we pursued sports betting, we would do it right, and this plan does just that." 35 states, including Kansas and Arkansas, already allow sports gambling. Well, coming up in sports, Pitt State football previews its matchup with 23rd ranked Missouri Western. Plus highlights from Quapaw football's senior night game against Holbert. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Pitt State football goes on the road for the final time in the regular season. The second-ranked Gorillas go to St. Joseph to play the 23rd-ranked Griffins of Missouri Western on Saturday, and PSU knows it'll be in for a dogfight.
They're going to give us their best shot. They do some of the things they like to do is just scheme up things and kind of disguise things to make it look like they're doing one thing and they come out and do another. They're going to come up with something new, I'm sure, like they've done every other game this past year. But I think our offense will be ready for that, and it's kind of like a chess match, just going back and forth and answering for what they have.
They're a really good football team. They're playing at a high level this year. playing at a different speed than even what they were last year when they were beating us at halftime. So we have to play 4 full quarters of really good football to have the opportunity to come out at the end.
The Gorillas could clinch a second consecutive MIAA championship with a win. We'll bring you all the post-game reaction, regardless of outcome, as well as the highlights from the game on Saturday evening right here on KOAM. And it's the final week of the regular season for high school football in the state of Oklahoma. Quapaw at home this evening trying to bounce back from a 1-point loss against Wyandotte last Friday. Quapaw on its home field for senior night. Players and parents honored before the game. Wildcats taking on the Hulbert Riders. First drive of the contest, Austin Lake throws it out to Zane Stand, and number 1 in green does the rest. He uses his speed to go untouched into the end zone, 6-0, Quapaw, just like that. Next Wildcat possession, Kyle Forbes is on the move. He keeps his feet in bounds and crosses the goal line. Touchdown Wildcats, 14-0. We're still in the first quarter. Hulbert didn't have much luck on offense. Here's one of the reasons why. Stand laying the boom on Jose Decker, who fumbles. Colton Neal recovers. Wildcats with the football again. 4th down and long. Austin Lake scrambling, trying to find someone. Rainbows to the end zone. There's Stand again. This guy can do it all. Touchdown Wildcats. Quapaw goes up 22-0. Later in the game, Wildcats leading 29-0. Ethan Ellis throws over the middle. Colton Neal with the interception. Another turnover forced by this Wildcat defense, which was fantastic all night. And it leads to this play. Will Miller takes the handoff. He stays in bounds, tight-roping the sideline, reaches for the goal line and crosses it. Personal foul on Hulbert after the play. Quapaw cruises the rest of the way. Wildcats beat Hulbert 51-8. Important night for 2 of our local soccer teams as well. College Heights and Webb City each have a district playoff match this evening. The Cardinals playing for the right to earn a spot in the championship. The Cougars are already there. Starting first with College Heights, the Cougars win the Class 1 District 7 championship over Lone Jack this evening, 5-1. Next up, College Heights will face Maryville a week from Saturday in the quarterfinals of the Class 1 state tournament. Still some other district tournaments to sort out, but the Cougars will be one of the last 8 teams standing. Meanwhile, Webb City in the semifinal this evening at Branson, and the Cardinals take care of business as well. They beat Willard 2-0. They advance to the championship match, will be against Central on Monday evening at Branson High School at 6 o'clock. That's all for sports. Back with more news after this.
November is here, and for those who celebrate Thanksgiving, the countdown is on, and a new forecast is revealing how much your turkey dinner could cost you this year. So which items will be more expensive and cheaper? Cole Higgins has a look at why the star of the holiday meal is seeing a shift in price.
This year's Thanksgiving dinner is serving up some dramatic shifts when it comes to cost. Wholesale prices for turkey fell 29% in October compared to a year ago. That's according to Wells Fargo's new Thanksgiving report. The forecast is welcome news for turkey farmers and marks a major shift from last year when a wave of avian flu took out birds, leaving some farms struggling to keep up with demand, which led to higher store prices. This 2023, the Wells Fargo Agri-Food Institute says farms added 2% to 3% additional birds, and that robust supply plus a drop in the cost of refrigerated trucks to move supply from farm to store are contributing to the price drop. But get ready for some sticker shock because the rest of the meal will cost you more.
Everything else around it, all those side dishes, choose to spend wisely and shop wisely where you can.
According to the Wells Fargo forecast, canned cranberries cost almost 60% more compared to the same time last year. So opt for fresh cranberries instead, which cost about 20% less compared to last year. And right now, production costs for canned pumpkin are 30% higher this year from last year. Russet potato prices are at an all-time high, with prices up 14% from a year ago. So consider going for sweet potatoes instead. Store prices are only up about 4%. To trim costs, experts recommend scaling back.
Do you really need all that stuff? Who is actually eating this? Do Do we have a dish that maybe only gets 2 or 3 bites? Scrap it.
Love Thanksgiving dinner. Well, coming up, we'll get a sneak preview of a new movie diving into one of the most iconic rock and roll love stories. An iconic rock and roll love story unfolds in theaters this weekend. Fox's Kristen Goodwin has the story.
What's your name?
Priscilla Boyer.
Sofia Coppola's Priscilla gives a new perspective to the iconic love story between Elvis and Priscilla Presley.
It's close to how it was for Priscilla. I think we can all learn something from someone else's story and how they experienced their lives and the human side behind the mythology and the fairy tale.
The film is based on Priscilla's 1985 memoir, Elvis and Me, which chronicles her meeting, courtship, and marriage to the legendary singer.
It's really her story of growing up at Graceland with Elvis, which from meeting him at 14 to when she leaves to make a life on her own in her late 20s. I think there's aspects that we can all relate to of growing up, but it's just hard to imagine doing that with Elvis at Graceland, the height of his career in the 60s.
Kaylee Spaney had Priscilla's support throughout filming the movie, but admits she was still nervous to play her.
To have Priscilla around was sort of the greatest gift, but also was an enormous amount of pressure and task to take on, because I just wanted more than anything to make her feel like she was in safe hands and that she saw her life through this telling of it, because I think that she obviously deserves that.
Presley also helped star Jacob Elordi portray the king of rock and roll.
I also had Priscilla in my corner from before the film, which was amazing. And then I just was, I had the gift of this abundance of information about him that I could just dive through.
In Hollywood, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Looks like a good one. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We leave you with video of walruses at a Washington zoo enjoying some treats. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.